Welcome back to Loose Frame Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Martinovich. It is 2026, and this is the beginning of our 6th season. What's changed? Well, in 6 years, I got older and blind. So for those watching on camera, I am now wearing glasses because I am blind. But joining me is, as always, are my two compatriots.
Sam Allen.
And Bertie Doyle.
Happy New Year's, ladies.
Happy New Year.
So I didn't know I was blind. I had just been driving around my whole life, just doing my own thing. And
Do not admit that.
yeah.
You know what I thought was crazy was that we did a whole rebrand with like brand colors and everything. And then the other day, Tyler goes, I'm colorblind.
Yeah, I was the wrong person to ask for all those
green
things.
is like our main color, right?
Well, you know.
I will admit that did hurt my soul quite a bit when I heard that you were colorblind.
That's why we're here.
Fake it till you
to
make
check
it.
the colors.
I was driving home a couple of months ago and with my partner in the car, and I passed by our exit, and she was like, hey, you missed our turn. And I was like, what turn? She's like, what do you mean what turn? You didn't see it? And I was like, no, not really. And she's like, that sign coming up. Tell me when you can read it.
Oh, God.
And we're getting closer and closer and closer, and I can't see anything. And then she's like, you passed the sign. And I was like, oh no, we're gonna go get my glasses.
I am a supremely nervous driver because of people like you.
I didn't know. I just thought this is how you're supposed to see, which was poorly. Apparently.
I stole my sister's glasses a bunch of years ago just to mock her. And then when I put them on, I was like, oh my God, you can see all the leaves on the trees?
Yeah,
I didn't know you could do that.
You're supposed to be able to read that from that far away?
Literally.
That's amazing. Well, it is a new year. It is our 6th season. Our first couple of guests coming up are going to be launching this 6th season. And who do we have on the podcast today?
Very exciting episode. We have some of the makers of Brooker. We've got Faniel, who's acting in it, and then we have Brandon, who is the producer and writer of the
what
movie.
is Brooker, Miss Bertie Doyle?
Brooker is a Tampa-made movie. It kind of has a VHS Indiana Jones vibe. That's what Brandon and Faniel labeled it as, so I'm going to go off of that. And it seems to be a super fun action adventure kind of story. Kind of family friendly, I think, from what I heard.
It is an independent film, but Brandon Ransbottom, who's our guest today, is an FSU film graduate. And it certainly looks like an FSU film graduate film, and I mean that in the best way possible. It definitely punches way above its weight class. Mm-hmm. It's very cinematic. And we also have a first-time actor in the leading role, Faniel, who I think you guys are really going to enjoy what he has to say.
Oh, yeah.
But with that, let's kick this 6th season in 2026 off. We'll be right back with our guests. Welcome back to Loose Frame Podcast. My name's Tyler Martinovich. New year, same me. New guests, though. Joining me now, we have writer-producer Brandon Ransbottom and Faniel Pradel. Did I say it right this time?
Yeah, you did.
For those at home, that was my 4th or 5th take, but we got through it this time. Welcome, gentlemen. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year.
So you guys are here promoting your latest film, Brooker, which we'll get to in a little bit. But as always, I'd like to start with some biographic information, get some background on you guys. You are Tampa-based filmmakers, or at least Brooker was filmed here in Tampa Bay at large. Yes. So let's start with you, Brandon. What got you into film originally, and how did you end up in Tampa? Are you a Tampanian?
No, I'm originally from Ohio, so made the journey down to FSU film school back in the day. I graduated in 2009.
Oh,
and did a little stint in Louisville, Kentucky, and then we came back as a family down here to live in this area, raise kids. Been doing that for basically 11 years, and it's fantastic. It's a great area to live in. We love it. And I kind of got my start. Honestly, my mom got a camera for Christmas. She used it for about 5 minutes. And then I was outside filming videos with my brother, and that never stopped. Yeah. We just did that.
Did you go to FSU, part of their film program, or were you majoring in something else?
Yeah.
And what made you look at FSU as the place to go for your education?
Oh boy, my mom's not going to like this. I just want to get out of Ohio.
Okay. And because I know a lot of people from Ohio, it's like Ohio State or die.
Yeah.
No.
I applied to places in California and places in Florida. Now, it turns out FSU film program was a
One of
great
the best
program.
in the country.
Yeah. And that was fantastic. But honestly, it was a little bit of just kind of blind luck. And I didn't get in initially. I started and went to just the liberal arts program for 2 years, applied numerous times, and then finally 2 years in, I got my shot. And it was, I mean, I have nothing but great things to say about the program.
Yeah. Was there anyone else part of your graduating class you still connect with? Do you still work with the same people? Did you bring anyone you graduated with on to work with you on Brooker?
There aren't a ton of kind of my colleagues from that time in the area. There's some doing fantastic things, a lot of them out in LA and New York. So that wasn't a component of this film. I would certainly be open to that in the future.
Yeah.
But because they're, when you look around, there's, one of my friends working with Christopher Nolan very closely. There's another friend that, is like pretty awesome DP, and so they're kind of like tackling lots of areas, and but a lot of the work has not necessarily been Tampa forward, that they were that they kind of committed to being here out of film school.
No, I totally get it. One thing I like about FSU is they don't make filmmakers; they make storytellers. I think first and foremost, and we'll get into everything about the Brooker in a little bit. But let's change to you now, Faniel. What brought you originally? Because this is your first acting role ever, right?
Yeah. It's like the first major role. Obviously, I think growing up, grew up in Miami, Florida, and your run-of-the-mill smaller things like church skits and little things like that within the community. I've done things like that. Also, my family just calling me a character in general. So that was always fun. But this was like a really big opportunity for me to really dive into this realm of acting, something that I felt throughout my years. I would hear echoes of, oh, yeah, you'd be pretty good at that. And so I was like, I really want to fall into, or honestly dive into this opportunity to really like step into that realm.
But no formal training before this.
No formal training before it. And so hopefully it doesn't I hope people don't watch it and are like, oh yeah, it's no formal training before this. Hopefully they are, they're left impacted, and they leave watching Brooker really, really moved and inspired too. That's what I would hope.
Yeah. And what brought you to the Tampa area, and how did you guys meet actually?
Yeah. Well, generally what brought me to the Tampa area was a job opportunity. Down in Miami, I had spent a number of years kind of going back and forth, where I actually ran into Brandon over at FSU, where I went to school, and we connected. We were a part of a campus ministry called the FSU Wesley Foundation, where we met tons of awesome people and great friends who helped a lot with a lot of the cool storytelling.
And Faniel was in some of my thesis and whatnot. That he's being humble. He's been doing a lot of things, for a number of years. But.
Yeah. So came on up for a job opportunity at a church, Anona United Methodist Church, and so got to lead some worship there, and met my lovely wife in Tampa. So thank you, Tampa, for doing that for me. And so since 2015, I've been around, and but loved it ever since. And just continuously grew on me, and I just really, really enjoyed it. And as you can see in Brooker too, all the really cool spots that we found and awesome cities that we got to film in, it just really reinvigorated that love I had for Tampa, just to get me in that role in the really cool spots and seats. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna dig into Brooker now. Let's set the stage correctly though. Why don't you give me your elevator pitch for it so people at home know what we're talking about?
Sure. What I tell people is that Brooker is kind of a modern day Indiana Jones set in Florida. It's about a relic hunter who finds this relic that seems to have supernatural powers, and instead of turning it over to the buyers, he kind of holds it hostage and demands more money and thinks that he has the upper hand. Turns out he doesn't, and he kind of is pushed into this world where he is, he's the small fish in the pond.
Yeah.
And, he's kind of used to being in control of his own destiny. And all of a sudden he's thrust into this place where he doesn't really even know what's happening. And it has a lot of, I don't want to say that there's a lot of nostalgia play, but I think we wanted to make a movie that almost felt like this is a forgotten, VHS on the shelf. It's not necessarily playing with, it's not trying to elicit these like very specific tropes, but I think it's playing in the same ballpark as things, like I said, Indiana Jones or Goonies or, it's not quite that. It's a little more, it'd be PG-13, if it had a rating, but it's not, so it's not super kid friendly, but at the in the premiere and my kids have watched the movie, like I feel like it's kind of one of those movies where if you're like in that 9, 10, 11, 12 zone, you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be watching this, but it's cool,
Yeah.
And so and that was kind of our zone we wanted to be in, where like maybe it's pulling adults down into something that's a little more fantastical, but it's lifting kids up, asking them to like consider things that are a little more adult.
Yeah. And was there something in particular that spoke to you that said, I need to write this particular script?
So this is, I don't know, a little peek behind the curtain of how we kind of put this all together. But the idea was, I financed the film, and I knew there was kind of, I don't want to say I had one shot because that sounds very like doom and gloom, but I kind of was coming from the perspective of I've tried to mount other scripts, other stories that I want to put together. And at the end of the day, it's just hard to get a movie made. And, you can have allies like Faniel and so many other people in the community that came together, but at a base level, there kind of has to be this driving force. Oftentimes it's financial that says like, we can compensate you for your time in some way, or like you will be treated like a human being on the set, or whatever the thing is. And, so we took, I took that money and I said, what could we possibly do with this size budget? And I had a piece of paper and I had a list of, here are all the assets I have, which were like, my brother works at Eckerd College. We have a friend that owns a bar, Faniel, we know where there's a big pool. And then and on the other side, I kind of drew lines and I was like, what part of the story does this coordinate with?
Yeah.
And that's how Brooker got written. And so in a very true way, it's not like my baby or some like like super emotional part of me that's being put on display. Brooker for me, and I think for us is really it's a calling card, but it's also like a proof of concept of like, hey, we can make movies in Tampa Bay. Other people prove that all the time, but we wanted to show in our way that you can make movies in Tampa Bay. And I think there is, with the way that the industry is changing and the size of productions that can, achieve something that is entertaining. I wanted to show, that there was, that there was, kind of a niche that we can fit into. And, I hope that we succeeded in that. I guess time will tell.
So did the overarching adventure come first in your mind, or was Brooker the character first and foremost in your mind when you were writing it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it was more the idea that I didn't want it to be, and no offense to movies that are this, I didn't want it to be 4 people in a beach house talking.
Yeah.
There are some of those movies that are fantastic. I just know I can't write that. I don't have any of those strengths. And I also knew like we're going to be working with an all local cast. We're going to be pulling a lot of people, like a lot of our crew weren't seasoned vets. Some of them were for sure, but some people, this was their first kind of real foray into this world at all. So there was a lot of teaching going on set. And so, maybe counterintuitively, I thought, let's not hang it all on these like huge, big dialogue driven scenes. Let's have, the first 12 minutes of the movie are basically just Faniel exploring a cave. It's more exciting than that, but it's a lot of like the way it looks. It's the vibe. I mean, that's, I would say the kind of the biggest note that we've gotten back on the film is like, man, kind of impeccable vibes.
Yeah.
It's the music, the cinematography, and we can get into all these things, but that's I think kind of the entry point for us.
And how early on did you know Faniel was going to be your Brooker?
At the beginning.
So did you write it specifically for him?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the movie doesn't exist without, like, when you see the movie, and I mean, I'm probably outing myself, but we asked Faniel to do so many things that were probably not totally above board as far as just like he does all his own stunts. And there are quite a few stunts. I mean, you know, most notably that have been in some of the promotional pieces. There's a moment where he's under this spell or whatnot, and he falls into a pool backwards and just like just straight back. And I mean, how many times you did that?
4 takes.
4 takes
Yeah.
of just. I mean, it is excruciating to watch, and he
Awesome
nailed
to
it.
film. It was very fun.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun. Yeah.
So, Faniel, you've been friends with Brandon for a while. Talk me through him coming to you and saying, "Hey, I've got an idea for a movie.
Yeah.
And we're going to pull this together, and you're going to be my lead actor."
Yeah. I love this story. I tell a lot of people too, because they're like, "Oh yeah, how did you how did you get into Brooker?" And so, just having the opportunity to be so close with Brandon as in the same town, and often I feel like with people, when you grow up with people or you hang out with people and make friends, you would think proximity is like it would equal, all right, we're going to see each other all the time, so on. But that is truly not the case for everyone. So I just deem this as a very unique and great opportunity. But we have the chance to go over ideas. And whenever Brandon has a cool script, I'm like, yeah, I'd love to read. Yeah, show me something. And so I remember him presenting the idea of Brooker. He didn't tell me anything. He was just like, read it. Like, tell me what you think. And I was like, okay, read it. I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool, man. I love this. And I think maybe 1 or 2 other versions of the script came down the pipeline. And towards that last one, I remember you were like, hey, so, you talked about wanting to be a serious actor. And I was like, yes. And, we could have you in this film. I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm thinking of all the characters. I'm like, okay, am I going to be, goon number 2? Am I going to be, the barista in the back? Like, I'm like, okay, whatever. And he was like, Brooker. And I was like, oh, Brandon, it's called Brooker. And he's like, yeah, man. And I was like, oh, okay. So immediately this rush of like, oh my God. But instantly, I'd say instantly reinforced with the that rush of hey, this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity, again, like I said earlier, to dive into what I really feel like is not just a talent, but a skill I really want to refine. And so I was like, all right, okay, let's do this. And so after like weeks and weeks of like just going back and forth in my head, but I'm like just kind of amping myself up for this opportunity. So yeah.
So it's one thing to read a character on a page. And it's another thing, and I'm not speaking from any talent as an actor at all. I'm definitely a behind the camera person. But stepping into that character, there has to be a jump from what you had in your head when you were reading it, and then when I was like, oh, now I have to actually act this out.
Yes.
So how did you connect those dots for you with no formal training, and this is just kind of you putting yourself out there, which I think has to be at least at some level showing how confident you are, at least not maybe on your own talents, and at least the people surrounding you that I can be safe in this space to do this.
Absolutely. Just from what you just said, having the skill level around me, having people who are super confident, who are the expertise, but also just uniquely. Again, this is my first, cast, my first film experience. So I will say, filming Brooker, I am immensely spoiled. Just a great energy, everyone on the same page, just fluid movement. Never felt like egos were in the way. It was just really amazing, and I think, diving into Brooker, I had tons of questions because I really wanted to make sure, especially for a role that someone says that they wrote it for you, like they saw you and you're like, oh man, I want to make sure I do honor to this and justice to this. I can imagine that Brandon and co-director Gary Miller, they're probably really annoyed with me because I kept, hey, did I do that good? Hey, did you like that? Should I do it again? Just really like in my head. And they're like, no, this is good. And I'm like, Fanny, if it sucked, we would have told you. And I'm like, okay, that's good. That's a good reinforcement. But in the meanwhile, like reading over the script and trying to find trying to find those parts of me that resonated with Brooker, the protector, the one who wanted to make sure everyone was okay despite his well-being, the one that knew by any means necessary, I've got to get this done because someone else is depending on me, a pseudo provider, if you will. And so just being an older brother, I've got two siblings. I have a loving family back in Miami, and I love and care for them. I kind of like dug into that, understanding that Brooker as well, again, no spoilers, wanting to protect and do the best thing for his friends and family and those who are closest to him. Just kind of dug into that and really tried my best. I hope in the end result to portray that in his demeanor as well as his actions.
Yeah. We're definitely going to post a trailer as we're promoting this particular podcast episode. It is difficult to make a movie in the best of circumstances, right? And then you throw in extra baggage with, I don't necessarily have all the money. I don't have a huge professional crew. I don't have all the luxuries of being out in LA on a major film set. It seems just astronomically daunting. Where do you start, Brandon? I mean, how do you start pulling things together as the producer?
So, probably so Faniel was piece number one. I had to make sure he was on board. If he wasn't on board, then it was like back to the drawing board, totally, to be honest. So once he was on board, we had the script. I had, our main actor who's in essentially 95% of the scenes. I kind of, had already done some location scouting as far as, okay, I'm building these scenes around places where I know we can have control of the environment for, numerous days at a time. That was like vital to the success of the movie. The next part was finding, you could call it a line producer. We Tanner now is the producer of the film. And, as much as I've kind of slipped into more of like an EP role, I suppose, or a showrunner if it was a TV show. Our hierarchy was a little bit different than your average independent film, but I think that was one of the reasons it really worked, because it was all predicated on trust and respect outside of just hiring people. The team was like hand selected, even down to like PAs, like it was a little bit of like a rigorous, like who's going to vibe on this set, because we had, basically our main run was 16 days. That's how I'd kind of budgeted out. Like, I think we can, it's a combo of like, how many pages can we shoot in a day and how many days can I afford? Yeah. And it was like, I think we can do 16. One of those 16 days was like on a boat, like 4 people on a boat. So, that was kind of, in a way, not wasted because it's in the movie, but, when you're watching, you're like, oh, that was 10 seconds. And that was a whole day of filming. But, that was the next part, was kind of doing like the script breakdown, figuring out how we can, practically do this. Bringing Tanner on because he had the connections, and myself, Tanner, a number of other kind of heads of production, heads of departments are people that work in the commercial industry or in the area here, and so those were kind of key players to bring in and make sure that they were on board, and make sure they could work with the rate that we could provide them, but some of the buy-in of that was like giving them a lot of creative control. And we've mentioned Gary. Gary Miller is a friend of mine from my days in Kentucky. He is a prolific commercial director up there. He's always wanted to do a film. We've kept in contact over the last decade. And as we started developing this, I had this hunch early on, because everyone's always like, oh, you directed the movie, right? And I was like, no, I did not direct the movie. I needed a director. I needed someone who could work with the actors and be there for every shot, because there were days where there's one day in particular that I'll never forget, where it was a very important scene in the middle of the movie, and we needed a prop, and we did not have this prop. I didn't even know what the prop was. Like, it had to be a thing that would be cool, right? That people would be like, oh, that makes sense for this moment. And I remember it was like 4 a.m. the night before. We'd been shooting, and I was just laying in bed, and I was like, what are we gonna do? Like, this is pivotal moment in the movie. And we got the set the next day, and I talked to Gary. I was like, you're running the show. I'm gone. I'm going to find this prop. And I drove all around for hours looking for something, went to like shops and waited outside of antique stores. And I was like, I'll find it. I didn't find it. And I drove back to set, and I started looking at some of the things that were already on set. And I opened up this book, And I mean, it was like the most serendipitous thing. I was like, oh, right there, that picture, that's the thing. I thought it had to be this grand thing, and it was just a picture. So I'd spend a lot of my days doing things like that. Like just things that in the movie, in the context when you watch it, you're like, oh, that feels so natural, and that's a part of it. That's what I did. Gary was, working with Faniel and all the actors, and really, I mean, in no way can I take any directing credit. I was on set maybe 70% of the time as a writer, and honestly, there was not that we need to get in this entirely, but there was kind of a give a mouse a cookie moment where we were like, we want to change this one thing in the script. And then it kind of kept backtracking. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, there's like 15 pages that don't work anymore.
Yeah.
And we're shooting all that stuff tomorrow. And so that was like, or 2 days, because there was one day on set where I was sitting in another room rewriting everything for the next 2 days. And the actors were just so fantastic. I mean, in addition to Faniel, there was, Clay Christopher and Andresia Mosley and Camila Camillo and Hannah Behrens, all these people that in that scene were just able to get, and some of that stuff is like wordy. It's like villain over talking dialogue exposition stuff. And I just remember, handing it over to them and being like, good luck, and I mean, it's the biggest scene in the movie as far as like number of characters. There's like, I don't know, there's at least 10 actors in the shot. And, it's like we did all this lighting and then it just started going and like they were nailing it. And I just couldn't believe it. So, that to me, I don't even remember what your question was, but
you
kind of
definitely answered it.
Yeah, it kind of led to that.
Faniel, what was the most difficult aspect of taking on this role for you?
Yeah. I mean, all of it, but I would say, honestly, trying to find a balance when sharing the screen with these great actors that we had mentioned, and wanting to bring a a part of me in a skill that very green, but also I'm really wanting to craft. While not wanting to, mess up, like, this person's really experienced, they're doing their thing, and I want to make sure, but a testament to how great these actors were, both in skill, but also in understanding. Knowing that it was my first gig, really talked me through things, and they were like, hey, yeah, whatever you want to do, let's run through some things. What are you thinking here? Very communicative, and it just brought a level of ease to me, which I think kind of upped the ante a little bit when it came to nailing a scene and or a line or role, and and it felt really good. But just a lot of pressure. None from y'all. Y'all did a great job, but that inner part of me was like, okay, I gotta like be the best Brooker that I could be. And I hope I did.
Yeah. And I don't say this next thing to disparage any independent filmmakers that are listening, but a lot of times a low budget, no budget indie feature, whatever the budget actually might be, looks like it was, even if the acting and the writing is superior, it ultimately looks like it was a low budget film. And I will tell you, your film punches way above its weight class. So talk a little bit about the visual style and how you crafted it and where you pulled your visual inspirations from.
Absolutely. The number one thing is you got to throw out to Andrew Robinson, who's our DP. He truly was a last minute addition. Originally, Gary was also going to shoot the film. He was going to direct and DP because we had no money. And he kind of threw it. I mean, it was 2 weeks before he was coming down, and he was like, I got this guy. He's a little younger. I mean, but I think I really want to focus on directing. Would you be okay with that? And of course, it's like, I gotta find some budget for him, even just like, where's he going to stay and food and all these things. And I was like, I talked to Gary about it, and we landed it, and it was one of the best decisions we ever made.
Absolutely.
He is a phenomenal DP, and I credit so much of the look of the movie to him. There was a day he stayed after initial production had ended and just kind of filmed like a lot of like natural things in the area, a lot of wildlife and water. And again, that's some of the feedback we've gotten, that people really, really appreciate that. And I'm proud of the movie.
It's cinematic. And that I think is the word that's missing when you describe a lot of independent films.
Yeah.
Again, the writing could be amazing, the acting could be amazing, but it's just not quite cinematic, right? And Brooker looks like a big film and it feels like a big film. And I think that's a tribute to your acting and your writing and the directing, but the visual style also is a perfect amalgamation. And it really feels alive. And I didn't know who your DP was. I hopefully we can get him back to shoot something else here in town because it really was spectacular. The lighting, the color correction, everything just looked great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he crushed it. And something we talked about early on, you're talking about influences. We wanted it to be a very colorful film, even though, it's not hard edged, but there's like some adult themes and there's some scary things going on. But we also, we kept coming back to this idea of this is a Florida movie. And we really wanted to kind of expand the definition of what that is in whatever way that we could. And we wanted to say, we don't want to, we didn't want to make it be a different place. We wanted it to be Florida, specifically even Tampa Bay, but we also wanted to say, what kind of stories can you tell about Tampa Bay that are set here that aren't, maybe your traditional, it's not like a romantic comedy. It's not about the beach, even though there's scenes on the beach. And, so the writing, I guess, like we put it in those places, but then Andrew elevated that by in Tanner finding locations and working even like with Quinn on like getting procuring what am I trying to say, permits, finding some places where we would see something and be like, ooh, can we film there? And then finding a way to make that happen. I mean, that's I can't deny that is a huge part of it. Like you can have all these dreams of I want to film here, but then if you can't, then you're out of luck.
Yeah, no, there was an episode of Jack Ryan on what is it, Amazon, I think, and the episode takes place in Tampa. Now they shot it in Panama, I believe, and I remember watching the episode, and it's like dark and dingy. It doesn't feel like Florida at all. There's no color or life to it. There's mountains in the background for some inexplicable reason. And you're just like, this isn't Florida. This isn't even, this is nothing. But your film really captures, I think, the area in a beautiful, exciting way. Again, it makes it look cinematic. So talk a little bit about the crew. How do you convince people that, I'm assuming you've worked with some of these people at some point.
Yes.
And like, hey, we're going to do a 16-day run and gun feature film. And I want you to believe in me. I'm going to pay you, but not a lot. Definitely not what you're probably worth. But come on this journey with me. Like, what favors are you trading? How do you get these people to believe in you?
There's a ton of favor. I mean, just all the things you would think of like, I'll work on your short film. I'll do this. I'll do that. And like a lot of people work on, we had some local agencies that, people that I've done work for. And it's like, I'll do your next thing for free if you guys will provide X, Y, and Z. Right. So there's that level of doing it. I think the more interesting one, though, is pitching the movie to people, right? And we had a pitch deck, and where I pulled just what's that program, Screen Grabber? Anyway, there's a basically just pulling things from movies that we wanted to emulate, and we were pulling from inspiration and kind of challenging people even and saying like, do you think you're at the skill level where you could make our movie look like that? Or and I got to give out a shout out to Mark Farag, who did the sound recording, field recording. And so interesting fact about Brooker is that there is 0 ADR. Like everything is from production.
Probably saved you a fortune.
It saved us a fortune in time and money and just like headaches. Honestly, and when you get into post-production, you get so depressed. At least I did. Just like looking at things, you're just like, oh, the fun of doing this is over. Like and at first movies are just like a mess. You're just looking at it and you're like, well, we really screwed up. I guess we should pack it up. But you have to just keep going. And honestly, the audio is like something that just like kept me going, because I was like, okay, this sounds really good, right? And like you were talking about, just that was another thing we really wanted to do. We didn't want anything to feel amateurish where we could avoid that, right? And yes, a lot of that was putting your money where your mouth is. The other half of it, I think, was being a good salesman of, this is an experience you don't want to miss out on. And I do think a lot of independent filmmakers, they get very much in their own head about, what is this doing for me? And something we were very intentional, even down to like my wife runs a craft service company, and like we fed people really good. And I wanted, our goal was like, what's the best set that we can run? Right. In addition to making a great movie, maybe that makes me not an artist or something, but on some level, I'm like, the set has to be good. If we run a terrible set and like are just ruthless and we get a great movie out of it, that's not what I'm looking to do. You know, I'll take whatever, rungs we have to come down, if any, but really what I believe is when you run a great set, you get a better movie.
Yeah, absolutely. That is fantastic advice. I saw people taking notes over there. It's going to be a vertical, I'm sure, at some point. But if the crew is happy, right, the minute, especially when you're relying on friends and favors and lower rates, the minute that they don't believe the set is being run professional, they start losing interest very quickly, and their level of commitment precipitously falls. Switching gears a little bit here now, Faniel, how early into the post-production process did you see the first cut of the film, and what was your initial reaction seeing yourself on screen?
So actually, I I adamantly told Brandon that I don't want to see it at all. I would rather wait until we premiere it and then I'll watch it. And that's even pushing it because a part of me was like, I kind of don't even want to see it. I just did it and I want to walk away. But between him and my wife, they're like, you have to see this because you were in it. But I was definitely wanted to do a good job and make sure both Brandon and also Gary, the director, it's like, hey, did you enjoy it? Did you like it? And do you need me to bring anything else? If all boxes were checked for me, I was like, okay, great, let's move on. So as far as watching it, I was like, please don't show me anything and post, like, I don't want to see anything. But seeing it, that was pretty wild. And yeah, for a split second, I was like, huh, like, yeah, that's me. Like I knew it was me, but it just took a split second to really be like, wow, like we made a movie. Like it's just such a cool experience. And to have so many people, like the cast and crew, like to be there watching this really cool thing. We spent 16 plus. There's a couple other days you had to do some pickups. And just to watch it, like it's just such a surreal experience that I would hope for any and everyone.
I love that you said we made a movie, and if you think about the billions of people on this earth, so few will ever have that chance. And maybe that's not even a desire for most people, but it's most people will never have that moment, even if they've worked on films, to be able to sit there in an auditorium with friends, family, people that have never seen this movie before or even know you. They're coming on blind faith. This is a movie they want to see, and get that experience of watching the lights go down, the film come up, your title card's up there, and you see yourself on screen for the first time.
Yes.
So that had to have been just absolutely magical.
So great. I felt like Nicole Kidman, just being there, just taking it in. It's just like, yeah, it's so good. But yeah, just this like extremely surreal. So grateful. And honestly, I told Brandon this. I was like, you know what? But if I never make another film, I'm happy because like we did something so unique, so cool, and it lives, and it's going to live on, and I'm proud of it, just really proud of it, and so
So Brandon, self-financed, you're sitting there in the auditorium for the first time. It's either I wasted all my money, what am I going to do with my life, or it's like, I am proud I put my money into this. I did something. Which one?
The last one.
Yeah.
I mean, and honestly, this is, I don't know, maybe this makes me an insane person, but, we finished the movie. We kind of, we worked with the post house and, in my mind, because I do a lot of post. And so that was like, I was like, we got to have good post on this. We've got to like, I can't be the one editing this. That's like Frankenstein or something. So I was like, let's, so I see it for the first time and I'm watching on my computer at home, with headphones on, and it finished. And I was like, great, it's a movie. When's the next one? And the premiere was great, and I love it. And I hold and treasure all those moments. But even still, it's like it's so much about making it. You know what I mean? Like I treasure it as an object in the way that I treasure like a picture of one of my kids. But I also just like I want to watch the kid grow up, and I want to like what are they going to do now? Like what are they like when they get home from school today? In the same way, like that's how I feel about like the rest of my life. I'm like, I got so many more things I want to do. And like Brooker is great, and it's a thing that I want people to see desperately, but it also is like it feels very, I'm not like a George Lucas or like it's finished, you know what I mean? Like it can go over here.
It's a platform, and now you can start building on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me twist the question then a little bit. What did you walk away with from the completion of Brooker learning that you were going to put into your next project?
You got to have the right crew. You got to treat people with integrity and respect at all levels, from, your vendors to your PA to your heads of departments to your actors. Everybody's got to be treated with respect, because everybody else will see that, and they'll know they could be the next one on the chopping block of not getting respect if you're not treating someone else, in that way. So those things have to be there. In a way, like, yes, money feels insurmountable at points, but also in another way, it's like, it's just that one thing. Like, you know what I mean? If we can, that's what I love about having the movie now. And I'm speaking from a place of, like you were mentioning, like the privilege of having made a movie. I do have that. So I'm not going to deny that that is something that a lot of people don't have. But I'm looking at that now as, okay, that's a piece of the puzzle that will help. We know how to make a movie now. We know people that are good at doing it. We had a lot of problems that we, in some way, I feel like we figured out. So, making the next one I feel much more confident about it. And maybe that's a dangerous thing. But as I sit here right now, that's kind of where what most of my brain is consumed by is just, all right, yes, I want to get Brooker. We've said since the beginning, Brooker was made for an audience of one. And that one person is whoever's going to help us make the next one.
Yeah.
And
that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
So same question to you, Faniel. What was the one thing you took away from this that, whether you act again or not, that you learn you're going to cherish and continue on doing?
Yeah. I'll echo a little bit of what you mentioned as well. It really is that integrity. And honestly, I think valuing people's craft, all puns intended, great craft services. But just honoring people's craft and really giving them the platform to show that off, and to see how other people were sharpening other people. And so for me, I was like, wow, this is like I did it, and I did it well, and whatever comes from this, or whatever the next opportunity is, I feel very confident that I can step into a new role, and uplift the same way these actors and the directors and everyone, how they uplifted me. I can do that for someone else too. And so I would hope that whether that looks like a future project or someone else who wants to hire me, which is fun, please hire me, to uplift and to really, really push people to be a better version of themselves, or to reach heights that they probably didn't think they could.
Yeah. So, Brandon, what is next for you? Do you got another idea? Is Brooker a continuing character you think you might revisit again in the future?
So, and this is, mucking up the works a little bit. Originally, something that I talked to Faniel about years ago was kind of there's another script out there that's kind of is my baby, right? But it's very expensive. So then I wrote another script. That one was too expensive. Then we got to Brooker. So in a way, I kind of have this whole world of things that all live. We call it the relic verse, but that's just because that's a thing that people call things nowadays.
And it sounds awesome. So.
Yeah, but so there's that whole world. I've actually been working on a script that's like a ZAG that I'm working on right now. It focuses much more on like middle Florida, the side of Florida that doesn't really get on screen very often. And it's like half in Tampa Bay, half middle Florida, just because it's like, again, I have to be realistic about we have so many resources here that it would be kind of silly to like go in the middle of nowhere and try and film a whole movie when I don't know if we have any budget for that. I'm like, at least if we film part of it here, we can, probably get away with having a week somewhere else. So that's what's next on the table. And again, because of the confidence that I built from doing Brooker, I kind of like all the pieces feel like they're there, other than the financing. And for me, maybe it's, silliness in my own brain, but I just kind of feel like, okay, we'll figure that out. You know what I mean? Like before we did Brooker, I would have been petrified to ask someone for help financially, right? Which is why I did it myself. Like I took the money that I've, saved and I was like, let's just do it. Like that just seemed like such a more logical step. Now I understand, hey, like we're not going to disappoint you. Like if you like the script, we will make that movie, right? I can't guarantee it's going to make any money back. No one can, right? But I at the very least know that the deliverable at the end of the day will be a real thing. And I didn't know that until we were done with Brooker,
Yeah. What about you, Faniel? What should go next?
Repeat the question.
If someone came to you today and
Yeah.
said, "Hey, I want you to be in my movie,"
Yeah.
you gonna jump into that?
Oh my gosh, yes. I think with the greenness, cool. I get it. I did a feature film, but there's so much more. There are many more roles that I'd like to do. Many more versions of myself I would love to unlock. And yeah, I just really, really want to again push myself to reach a height that I probably would have doubted that I could
Mhm.
get to. Honestly, if you had told me a year before Brooker, hey, you're going to be featured in a film, I'm like, get out of here. And now I am. And so I wonder how much more could be done. And
Yeah.
so, if someone wants to put me in a movie, I love that. Please do.
Well, our time is almost up here, but I
Mhm.
want to make sure everyone can follow you guys' careers. So we'll
Mhm,
pitch that in a
mhm,
second,
mhm.
but also Brooker. So let's start there. Where can people follow you guys to learn more about Brooker? Where can they see Brooker?
So the easiest way to keep up with everything is brookermovie.com. We have an Instagram handle as well. I think it's just Brooker Movie. The biggest way that you can, or the easiest way you can see it is at the Beach Theater on January 29th at 7 p.m. Tickets are on sale at the Beach Theater website and at brookermovie.com. That's the easiest way that's coming up. Hopefully we are in the middle. We're using a program we're using a company called Film Hub, and we explored going down the film festival route, and that hasn't. We're too eager. We're too we got to go.
Yeah.
We want to
You
make
don't
more.
want to take yourself offline for a year. You want to go out.
Yeah,
and do
and,
this movie.
and you know, this is probably my favorite analogy I've come up with recently is film festivals feel like fashion shows, and Brooker's a pair of jeans.
Yeah.
You know, like it doesn't really fit into that, milieu, and we want to Brooker's kind of, I don't want to say it's a 4-quadrant hit because that sounds very pretentious, but I feel like it's for a broad audience. That's what I really mean. And so with that sense, we're like, the Beach Theater's great and letting us show it there. And outside of that, we just want to get it out there for people to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's turn to your personal careers. We'll start with you, Faniel. Where can people follow you if you want them to follow you on social media?
Oh, yeah, please follow away. Well, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, just standard handles. On Instagram, it's FPDAHLAS. But I'm sure we could probably have
We'll post it, yeah.
Yeah. And so, and outside of that, also dabbling in the realm of trivia. I actually am a part of a trivia company called Fan Trivia. I say a part of, actually,
It's yours.
it's me. And so that's where, if you're a fan of anything, honestly, we will curate a trivia for it. So movie trivia, musical trivia, Disney trivia, Harry Potter trivia, you name it, we can build a trivia for it, and we make it an experience. So it's a game show meets your random bar trivia. They come together, make a lovely child called Fan Fave Trivia. It's great. People interact, and it's a fun time. And so also Fan Fave Trivia on Instagram as well. Yeah.
All right. Brandon, for you.
What's the question?
Your social media channels.
Oh, yeah. I have none. I'm a Luddite, so if you want to reach me,
Me
I
too.
guess email the Brooker Movie webpage, and that's how you get a hold of me. So,
Well, gentlemen, thank you guys so much. Happy
absolutely.
New Year. All
Happy
the
New
best
Year.
with Brooker as it continues to push out there. Hope everyone gets to see it. If you haven't looked at the trailer yet, we encourage you to do so. I said earlier, it punches way above its weight class, and boy, does it ever. It is an intense cinematic trailer. The movie is just as intense and cinematic. Really a great time. Thank you guys for your wisdom, everything you gave to our audience today, and I wish you all the best in the new year.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much,
Tyler.
Tyler.
We'll be right back. And welcome back. Well, that was a great discussion. That was a lot of fun. I was not familiar with Brandon or Faniel until today. I'd watched the trailer, I'd watched bits of the movie, but I didn't know these guys existed in Tampa Bay. So that's one of the joys of this podcast is I get to discover some new crew sometimes.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I met Faniel. I want to say this. He was playing my husband in an ad in November. And so we were talking on set, and he was telling me he was in Brooker, and we had played the Brooker trailer for our last Juneteenth festival, correct?
Yep.
It was the trailer?
Yeah, it was for the premiere, though, so...
I knew the name, and so I was like, oh, that's cool, all that stuff. So super cool that they knew each other, that he wrote the character, Brandon wrote the character for Faniel. I think that probably helped with Faniel's first time on screen or first time leading a whole feature, is that there were tie-ins between the two, between Faniel and the character.
Yeah.
So that was cool to see, and it was good that they were buddies. What I've seen a lot in Tampa recently, or at least since joining this job and actually getting to see the people that make movies here, is that they are majority buddies, which is so obvious in all the movies in the good way, right? Because then they work together better. So I think that was probably a good example of that too.
It really helps. Sets can be a very chaotic space, which tends to lead to friction in some cases, and it's a lot easier to navigate that if it's someone you trust, you can have a beer with them afterwards and calm yourselves down.
Yeah.
Where if it is just kind of a 1099 contract hire kind of situation, it can get really fractious very quickly.
Well, and they seem to go back a while, so they have that communication already in place.
Yeah.
They know what they're talking about. It's not, weird. Did he slight me because of the way he speaks? And it's like, no, he knows him. So I'm sure that helped.
Sam, I mentioned actually during the interview that you guys were taking some notes, and I was kind of looking behind the camera. They had some great sound bites.
Oh, absolutely. So I actually met Brandon last year because he reached out to us when he was having the premiere of Brooker, and he was like, hey, and he let me know that this film was happening. I was like, oh, wow, I'm so glad you reached out to us because, this is something I wanted to highlight. And from the get-go, I was really impressed by this person. And it's just like you said, like, oh, I didn't know that this was happening here. Made it extra clear when he was on this podcast how eloquent, how intelligent. And I think my favorite thing about this episode was that he really understands what it takes, like the business sense that it takes to actually get a film made. And, when he's saying that it was kind of a test case of filming in Tampa, where he's like, we're going to make this story around the resources that we already have. And it was beautiful. The film was atmospheric. I saw it, around the time of the premiere. And I'm really excited for other people to see it at Beach Theater because it's...
I thought what he said was, I think the biggest takeaway that anyone listening to this, if you're trying to get into independent filmmaking, is he wasn't making a sacred calf, right? He wasn't making a golden idol that this is my magnum opus, it's going to be the greatest thing ever. He knew coming in at an entry level that this is what he called a 4-quadrant hit or a pair of jeans, right? Mm-hmm. This is something that needs to be utilitarian. It needs to tell a fun story, but this is not where my career ends. This is where my career begins, and I'm going to use this as a platform and then move on, right? Like, he's not sitting here looking, I'm going to be following Brooker for the next 10 years, living off the coattails of this movie. Like, no, I know exactly what this movie was, right? And now I'm going to look to the bigger and better thing. I'm going to keep building from there.
He has good instincts like that. Because that's such a pitfall people fall in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think the beautiful thing about Brooker, right, is, there's a lot of people that are nervous about getting started because they're like, oh, well, what if it's bad, right? Brooker was so smart in the way that they made that movie that it was great. It was fantastic. And then it's just like, I believe him when he says, so we're going to make another one. We're going to learn from the last one. We're going to make it better and better. Like, I 100% believe that, because they did an excellent job.
They set themselves up for success.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is good. Because I feel like I talk about this with every single person in this industry where it's like, you learn at some point not to make that huge, deep, heavy, involved thing first. I learned at 15, thank goodness. Some people learn freshman year of film school. It's good that they learn that at some point before a huge feature.
Yeah. You hear it all the time. I don't think people really listen when, well-known directors, whether it's a Spielberg or a Coppola or whatever, like they make a movie. Oh, Coppola's a bad example, but they make a movie because other than Ridley Scott, I don't think anyone remakes their movies more often than them and Coppola. But anyway,
tag them below.
That's my own hot take. But they make a movie, they're proud of the movie, but then they move on from the movie. It's like, try to do something else now, right? I think Ari Aster is a great example right now where he just doesn't keep making the same movie over and over again. It's like, let's try something new and different. And Jordan Peele, another example, I wish Jordan would get out of the horror genre. But at the same time, every one of his films, way different than the last one, right? He's exploring, he's expanding, he's trying to do different things. And I think, to beat this dead horse, but like, people spiral down and it's like, oh my gosh, this is my one shot, this is my greatest film I'll ever make. Mm-hmm. And it's not. It should be the beginning of your career, especially if you're early on in an independent film.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or they go, I'm really good at that worked. My first film worked. That was a really good buddy comedy road trip, whatever. Like, let's just do that again. And it's like, oh good Lord.
Yeah.
Like, you can't keep returning to the same
move on, tell
hole.
Something else. Mm-hmm. It's coming up. The premiere is going to be on the 29th in January.
At the Beach Theater.
At the Beach Theater, which for those who also follow us on the Bird Birdwatch has been mentioned several times. We have a really great growing community of independent cinemas. Tell us a couple of them, Brittany.
So in this last year, the Beach Theater reopened after a long hiatus. I think it was like 18, 19 years. So we added the Beach Theater to our list of independent cinemas that are open. Greenlight opened a kitchen and lounge just a couple weeks ago, which expanded their space, even if not for the theater. Sunray opened a year ago-ish, maybe a little bit longer than that. So in the last year, we've had a huge increase in indie cinemas. So and they're all helping the independent films, and they're screening them, they're promoting them, but they're also helping the film festivals. Greenlight just became the official home to TIGLIF, the International Gay and Lesbian Film Festival. Sunray has hosted some film festivals in the past. Tiger Tail is going to be going to NCG, and the Florida Arab Film Festival is coming up. Check our social media for that. NCG Cinemas, which is a nationwide brand, but it's also franchised, so it's in between. It has the vibes of an indie cinema.
Yeah, and that's the direction that they go in for sure. They want to prioritize the indies and the neighborhood feel. They even call each other neighbors, which is kind of cute.
That is cute. I will say that's really cute.
Yeah.
And then Sunscreen. Yeah, the Sunscreen Film Festival in St. Pete is also moving over to Greenlight for some of their events this year, which will be in April. So we've got a good group going.
I
we
feel
should
like
be really blessed.
For us, we have, for us, it's like the big five of the indies. We include NCG in that as well, where it's like you've got the Tampa Theater, you've got Greenlight Cinema, you've got Sunray.
Tampa Theater,
you've got the NCG. It's in Beach Theater, obviously. I feel like we are a little spoiled with
we are. And if you live in a bigger city like a Manhattan or Chicago, there's a lot of art house, or like a Madison, Wisconsin, like there's a lot of art house cinema around. But I don't think that's true in most of Florida. I really don't. You got the Indian in Orlando, for example, but there's not like a grouping. Any given month, any given week, if you looked at the five we just mentioned and the programming going on, you are going to see bigger, better, more obscure, but underappreciated films than anywhere else in the state of Florida.
Yeah. Well, that's it. So every week for Birdwatch, that's what I do is I go through all of them. And if it's like Anaconda with Paul Rudd, I'm not throwing that in. Everyone knows that's coming out. Right. But I mean, NCG does $5 movie theater or movie ticket festivals. Right now they're doing their rom-com festival, $5 a ticket. I mean, my Birdwatch list that we're going to record right after we record this is 10 items long because everyone's got something interesting this week and we don't discriminate.
My favorite thing about that is that each theater's programming is wildly different from each other. So it's not a competition, really. I will go to Greenlight, I'll go to Sunray, I'll go to Beach Theater. They all have amazing but different things going on. And it's I like that they kind of are coming together as a community with that. Recently with the Rob Reiner series, where they're we're each going to play a different film. And
but they're marketing them together.
Exactly.
They're coming together for our favorite Rob Reiner.
Yes.
But they also don't strictly stick to films. They also do live events too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The Beach Theater's been doing popcorn and punchlines where they have local comedians come in. And so they're using the space for all entertainment things, not just film, which opens it up, which is something AMCs and Regals and whatever can't do because it's all sent from home office, right?
Yeah. And NCG is trying that out with the sports, right? With the
they're doing esports. So they showed us, we had a whole tour of NCG. It was very kind of them. And they showed us that they can hook up gaming systems to their projection. They rent out these theaters for this, that, and the other. I mean, even Sunray, I reached out to Sunray because I was in a short film and the director wanted to do a friends and family screening. And Sunray was like, yeah, go on. They gave us all these different helpful things, go, well, yeah, if you're under 2 hours, just go ahead and take it. And it was it's so helpful. And it's this kid's a student, the director. And so they're really helping the indie filmmakers from the beginning.
I'm not trying to lie. I met Sunray quite a bit.
You do like Sunray a lot.
They're doing a Twin Peaks watch through, and I'm yep, I'll be there every Sunday.
Yeah, check Birdwatch for that too.
Yeah.
Tampa Theater supports our FTB Presents, and we do our Juneteenth Film Festival there. So
we've got our MLK Festival that just passed.
That just happened. Yeah, Triumph. We showed Triumph. So
yeah, well, this is something more communities should invest in, is these independent spaces, and it's not government's job to jump in, but we should be creating an atmosphere where independent cinemas like this can not only pop up but thrive in a community. And it's really important not only for providing venues that are economical and supportive of independent film, but also playing challenging films where filmmakers, if you're not watching film, why are you in the film business, right? You should be going out there and challenge yourself and watching stuff, not when this episode drops, but this coming weekend as we're filming, Greenlight's playing Jim Jarmusch's new film, and it's not playing anywhere else in Central Florida, right? Nowhere else but at Greenlight. And that's a cool opportunity to see one of the most, prolific independent filmmakers, an OG filmmaker in his latest film with an all-star cast. You're not going to see that in AMC, right? So
No, because they actually care.
They do care.
I worked at an AMC.
Yeah.
They don't care.
It's an interesting thing that I went to Sunray when Crispin Glover was there.
Yeah.
And this is actually something he was talking about. He was saying, I kind of refuse to put my films on streaming because going to any indie cinemas and being there with an audience and having them see this work is just completely different than what you would get. And I just love that. And we have a lot of that. And that's what I love about our area, really.
Yeah.
Well, that's where we got our start as film students, was watching it as a group.
Yeah.
And then getting to talk about it. Things like Second Screen, where we get to have a discussion after the fact.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And not to get too far away from Brooker, but
right.
it is coming up on the 29th, and it's being shown at a true indie film house. Beach
Gorgeous.
Theater's gorgeous, freshly renovated. The people who own it are very, very passionate about it. And it's great that an indie film produced here in Tampa Bay can premiere at an independent cinema.
And the Beach Theater is female run.
There you go. So with that, ladies, any last thoughts on our discussion today?
I can't wait to see Brooker.
Yeah, I did see it, and it's beautiful. It's very atmospheric. I really enjoyed it, and I know you guys will too. So go see it at Beach Theater on the 29th.
If you're locally, come on out. We will be there for the premiere at Beach Theater on the 29th. Otherwise, you can catch them online. Definitely check out the trailer. It's amazing. And with that, it's time to wrap things up. So, ladies, where can they find more about us?
We are Loose Framing Podcast. You can stream us anywhere you stream podcasts. You can watch us
On YouTube.
We're real on YouTube. We're not animated. And you can follow Film Tampa Bay at Film Tampa Bay on every platform. There is no deviation.
Yeah. Real content, not AI slop.
Never.
We pride ourselves on real content.
Yes.
Never.
So with that, Happy New Year. I hope all of you guys stick around for the rest of our 6th season coming up this calendar year. We're very excited. We've got some great guests lined up for you in the next couple of months. And with that, thanks for watching.